You won't believe what happened when Johnny Depp walked into a small jewelry store one rainy afternoon. He looked different, tired, worn out. His hair was messy, his clothes a little dirty, and there was something in his eyes that told a story no one around seemed to understand. As he stepped inside, the bell above the door jingled softly, but the jewelry clerk barely looked up. Instead, she sneered. Then she laughed, not a friendly laugh, a harsh, mocking one. "Wow," she said loud enough for others to hear, "you look way too rough to be Johnny Depp." Her voice was dripping with disbelief and judgment. Johnny didn't say a word at first. He just stood there quietly, calm but tired, as if the weight of the world rested on his shoulders. His eyes scanned the rows of sparkling rings and necklaces, but it was clear he wasn't here to admire the shiny things. No, this visit was different. The clerk smirked again, clearly enjoying the moment. "You sure you're not lost, mister? This place isn't for, well, you." But Johnny's calm didn't break. Instead, there was something in his gaze, something that told you he had been through far more than anyone could see. Something hidden beneath the surface, a quiet strength, and maybe a little sadness. And then, just when everyone thought this would be another ordinary, uncomfortable encounter, Johnny reached into his pocket. What he pulled out next would change everything. It would silence the laughter, stop the sneers, and leave everyone speechless. "Trust me, you don't want to miss this story. Because sometimes, what we see on the outside tells us nothing about the real person standing right in front of us." Nobody expected Johnny Depp to walk into this small, quiet jewelry store on the edge of town. Not looking like a movie star, but more like a man carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. People had been talking. Rumors about Johnny's life lately were everywhere. Stories of struggles, battles with fame, and questions about what really was going on behind the cameras. Some said he was lost, others whispered about personal troubles, and a few wondered if he was even the same man who once lit up the big screen. So why was he here? In this tiny shop, miles away from the glitz and glamour. Why was Johnny Depp, one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, standing quietly by the glass cases filled with diamonds and gold? The truth was, no one really knew, and that made the moment even more strange. The jewelry clerk watched him closely, her face twisting into a mix of disbelief and mocking amusement. "If you're Johnny Depp," she said loud enough for the few other customers to hear, "then you've come to the wrong place looking like that." She stepped closer, squinting at him as if trying to find a hidden camera crew or a prank waiting to be revealed. "You don't look like the star we see on TV, more like a drifter." Johnny said nothing. His silence spoke louder than words. The clerk laughed again, louder this time, enjoying her own joke. "Honestly, you don't belong here with the rest of us. Maybe you should go back to wherever you came from." Her words cut through the quiet shop like a knife. But Johnny stayed calm, his eyes steady and unshaken. There was something about his presence that didn't fit with the clerk's sneers, a quiet purpose, a story she couldn't guess. Still, her mocking attitude grew, fueled by disbelief and maybe a little fear. "You think you can just walk in here and buy something fancy? Do you even have the money?" The tension in the room was thick. The customers whispered, unsure whether to feel sorry for Johnny or join in the laughter. But Johnny Depp wasn't here for a show. And whatever he was about to do next would shock them all. The jewelry clerk didn't hold back. She stepped right up to Johnny, her voice dripping with judgment. "You look way too rough for this place," she said, eyes scanning him from head to toe. "Your hair's a mess, your clothes are all wrinkled, and honestly, you look like you haven't slept in days. Are you sure you're not some kind of trouble?" Her words stung the room like cold wind. But Johnny stayed calm. He didn't snap back or get angry. Instead, he gave a quiet nod, polite but distant, like he was used to people seeing only the outside and never the real story. The customers nearby glanced at one another, uncomfortable but silent. No one stepped in to stop the clerk. Maybe they thought it wasn't their place, or maybe they were too surprised to say anything. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Johnny's eyes held a softness behind the weariness, a hidden pain, something no one in that store could understand just by looking. The clerk, however, wasn't done. "You're not just rough," she added, lowering her voice so only Johnny could hear. "You look suspicious, like you don't belong here." Johnny didn't respond. He reached slowly for the counter, fingers trembling just a little, but his face stayed calm. There was a quiet dignity in him, the kind that comes from carrying hardships no one sees. The other customers shifted nervously. Some stared at Johnny, unsure if they should feel pity, or if the clerk's words were true. The air was heavy with judgment, misunderstanding, and a strange mix of fear and curiosity, but Johnny didn't flinch. He had been judged before, by the press, by strangers, even by people who once called him a friend. This was just another moment in a long line of moments like this. Still, behind his calm exterior, something was waiting to be revealed. Something powerful that no one could have guessed. And it was coming soon. Johnny took a slow breath. For a moment the noise in the store faded. The mocking words, the curious glances, even the cold stare of the clerk, it all seemed far away. He looked at the clerk, his tired eyes meeting hers. Then, in a quiet voice that surprised everyone, he began to speak. "You think I look rough, maybe I do," he said softly. "But there's a reason for it. Life hasn't been easy lately." The clerk's smirk faltered. She wasn't used to seeing this side of him. Johnny went on. "You know, being famous doesn't mean life is perfect. Sometimes it's harder than anyone realizes. The cameras only catch the smiles. They don't see the pain. The battles I fight when the world isn't watching." His voice cracked just a little, like a secret breaking free. "I've lost things, people I cared about. Made mistakes I regret. And every day I try to find a way back to something real. Something that feels like hope." The clerk's eyes softened, but she didn't say a word yet. Other customers leaned in, their curiosity growing. Johnny reached into his pocket again, hesitated, then pulled out a small folded note. "I'm not here to buy something flashy. I'm here for a piece of jewelry that means more than gold or diamonds." He unfolded the note carefully. "This is a message from someone I love. Someone I want to give this gift to say I'm sorry. To remind them that no matter how hard life gets, I'm still here." His hands trembled slightly, but his face was calm. "I'm on a mission, you could say. To make things right in my own way." The clerk blinked, suddenly unsure what to say. The laughter and mockery felt distant now, like a bad dream she wanted to forget. She looked at Johnny, no longer just a rough stranger, but a man who carried a heavy heart. A man fighting silent battles she could barely imagine. "I guess I never thought about what people go through," she murmured. Johnny nodded. "Most don't. They only see the surface." There was a pause. The store felt different now, quieter, more real. The clerk swallowed hard. "If what you're saying is true, then I'm sorry for judging you." Johnny gave a small tired smile. "Thank you. That means more than you know." The moment shifted. The clerk's disbelief melted into something softer, like the first cracks in a wall built by fear and misunderstanding. And just when it seemed like the story had settled, Johnny's next move would bring an even bigger surprise, one that no one in that store expected. Johnny's hand hovered near his pocket, fingers trembling just a little. The entire store seemed to hold its breath. The clerk's mocking smile faded completely. The other customers stopped whispering, and stared, eyes wide with curiosity and uncertainty. For a moment time slowed down. Johnny reached slowly into his worn jacket pocket, pulling something out with deliberate care. It wasn't a wallet, or cash, or any kind of fancy card. No, what he pulled out was small, fragile, almost hidden in his palm. The clerk leaned forward, eyes narrowing in suspicion and surprise. She had expected money, or some flashy item to prove he was really who he said he was. Maybe a ring to buy, or a credit card to flash. But this was something else entirely. Johnny unfolded the small object gently, as if it was the most precious thing in the world. It was an old faded photograph. Not one of himself as a famous star, but a picture of two children, laughing, holding hands, innocent and happy. The kind of photo that holds a lifetime of memories and love. The silence in the store grew heavy. No one spoke. The clerk's eyes softened, her judgment melting away like ice under warm sun. Johnny's voice, barely above a whisper, broke the silence. "These are my kids," he said. "I carry this photo with me always. No matter how rough things get, they remind me why I keep going." His gaze never left the photo. "I'm not here for fame. I'm not here for money. I'm here because I want to give them something special. A symbol that they're never forgotten." The emotional weight of that moment filled the room. The clerk looked down, ashamed. The customers glanced at each other, some with tears in their eyes. Johnny carefully folded the photo back and slipped it into his pocket. The laughter was gone. The sneers were gone. In their place something new. Respect, understanding. A quiet reminder that sometimes the toughest battles are invisible, and the strongest people carry the deepest. No one said a word, they just watched. And just like that, Johnny Depp, the man they thought was too rough, showed them what really mattered. Just as the room began to absorb the weight of the photo Johnny had shown, he reached into his other pocket. The silence hung thick, every eye fixed on him, waiting. From his pocket, Johnny pulled out a small worn velvet pouch. It looked plain and old, but something about the way he handled it made it clear it wasn't ordinary. The clerk leaned in, curiosity replacing her earlier mockery. The other customers held their breath. Johnny opened the pouch carefully, revealing a delicate silver locket. It wasn't flashy or expensive looking, but it carried a quiet beauty, worn smooth by time and love. This locket, Johnny began softly, belonged to my mother. She gave it to me when I was a child. She told me it was to remind me that no matter where life takes me, family is everything. He held it up so everyone could see, then let his fingers trace its edges. I'm here to buy a chain for this locket, to wear it close to my heart again, to keep my mother's memory alive, and to show my kids what real strength looks like. The clerk's face shifted. Her eyes, once full of disbelief and sneering judgment, now shimmered with something else: awe, regret, and understanding. I didn't realize, she stammered. I thought you were just some lost man, looking rough and careless. But this, she gestured at the locket, this means so much more. Tears welled in her eyes. I'm sorry I judged you like that. The other customers nodded quietly. A few wiped tears from their cheeks, moved by the depth of Johnny's story and the simple, powerful symbol he carried. One elderly woman whispered, "It's easy to forget there's a story behind every face." Johnny smiled gently, a warmth returning to his tired eyes. We all carry something with us, memories, love, hope, even when it's hard to see. The store felt different now. The cold, harsh atmosphere was replaced by something softer, almost sacred. The clerk carefully picked up the locket, treating it like a treasure. Let me find the perfect chain for this. As she searched, she glanced up at Johnny, a silent apology in her eyes. Johnny nodded. It's okay. Sometimes it takes a moment to see past the surface. The customers watched, some whispering about second chances and kindness. They saw not just a famous man, but someone real, someone who had faced pain, loss, and still found the courage to carry on. That day, the jewelry store wasn't just a place to buy rings or necklaces. It became a place where a rough-looking man reminded everyone about judgment, grace, and the power of love. The clerk stood still, holding the locket like it was a fragile piece of someone's heart. Her voice was soft, almost ashamed. I want to apologize, she said quietly. I judged you too quickly. I thought you were just some rough stranger, maybe even someone to be afraid of. But you showed me something real today. I'm sorry for laughing at you and for not seeing who you really are. Johnny looked at her, tired but kind. There was no anger in his eyes, only a quiet understanding. It's okay, he said gently. People judge what they see. It's natural even if it's wrong. But what matters is what's inside us and inside the stories we carry. He paused, searching her eyes. Kindness is something we all need, especially when life gets hard and appearances don't tell the whole truth. The clerk nodded slowly. I never stopped to think about the battles you might be fighting, or how much courage it takes to keep going, even when things fall apart. Johnny smiled faintly. Everyone has their struggles, even those who seem strong on the outside. Sometimes, all it takes is a little compassion to remind someone they're not alone. A quiet calm settled between them, like a bridge had formed out of pain and regret. The customers watched this moment, feeling the shift in the room. The clerk's eyes glistened, no longer filled with judgment, but with respect and something deeper, a connection born from shared humanity. I'll never forget this day, the clerk said, her voice firm now but gentle. You reminded me that every person deserves kindness, no matter how they look. Johnny nodded. That's all any of us want, to be seen, understood and treated with respect. She smiled, wiping a tear from her cheek. Thank you for teaching me that. Johnny gave a small bow of his head, a sign of gratitude and humility. In that moment, two strangers once separated by suspicion and misunderstanding, found something powerful, a shared lesson about kindness and the importance of looking beyond appearances. And that lesson stayed with everyone who witnessed it, long after Johnny left the store. Johnny Depp stepped out of the jewelry store, the silver locket now resting close to his heart. The rain outside had stopped, but inside something had changed forever. The clerk stood behind the counter, her eyes still shining with a mix of regret and gratitude. The customers, once skeptical and quiet, now whispered quietly among themselves, moved by what they had just witnessed. That day, a man they thought was too rough showed them the truth. Everyone carries a story. Beneath every face, behind every worn-out jacket or tired eyes, lies a life full of struggles, hope, love, and courage. It's so easy to judge by appearances, to make quick assumptions based on how someone looks. But those judgments can hurt. They can blind us to the real people in front of us. Johnny's visit was a powerful reminder that kindness costs nothing but can change everything. So next time you meet someone who seems too rough, too quiet, or too different, take a moment, look deeper. You might find a story that could touch your heart. Thank you for listening to Johnny's story. If it touched you, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that remind us of what really matters. And leave a comment below. What's a moment when kindness changed your day? I'd love to hear your story. Remember, behind every face is a story waiting to be told. Be kind, be understanding, because everyone deserves to be seen. If Johnny's story moved you, please like this video, subscribe for more heartfelt stories, and share it with friends. I'd also love to hear from you. Comment below with a time you judged someone or were judged unfairly. Let's spread kindness together.